Alright, so let's not waste any time today. I believe Berserk is going to end with the deaths of Casca, Guts, and Griffith in that order, and I'm going to give you an idea as to why and how that's going to go down. Alright, so there's no better way to say this. So first off, Casca's going to be murdered in front of Guts by Griffith. So there's not a better way to state that for you guys. Again, there's two reasons I think this. The first is going to be Casca. We recently got a look at how she feels about her journey with Guts after the eclipse. The short version of this is a witch goes into Casca's mind, and we see a depiction of Casca being dead in a coffin, being dragged around by this wounded black dog. Obviously, this is just a metaphor for herself having died already because of what happened at the eclipse breaking her on some level. And Guts, basically, despite being wounded himself from the eclipse, actually still moving forward, protecting this coffin from, weird monsters in Casca's mind, and still dragging around this coffin because Casca basically sees herself as dead. And she understands that, Guts is also hurting as well, but is also protecting her. So at least she's lucid to the point where she kind of understands the dynamic between those two. But that aside, this is just kind of one of those subtle foreshadowing instances that I look for in Berserk. There are some not so subtle foreshadowings, but this is one of those subtle ones. Basically, Casca thinking that she died in the eclipse is kind of important to my next reason, which is that I also feel that Berserk is foreshadowing the events of the eclipse to repeat themselves. The biggest indicator of this is actually that Griffith kind of infers that he hasn't changed at all. He's always been that person that, betrayed the Band of the Hawk, that went after Casca and, made Guts watch. And he says, you should have known this better than anyone, Guts. And he infers that he's going to continue to be that way. And we see him actually follow through on that for the most part when we get all these, recent Griffith chapters. For God's sakes, I'm done with Griffith chapters, but, at least we're kind of seeing what he's up to. We'll call it a necessary evil for the sake of this video. But that being said, so when you put these together, you have her in some way dying during the eclipse and Guts being forced to watch, and then you also have Guts being mortally wounded, and then also Griffith staying, the same terrible person that did all these things. That being said, since Griffith's the same person, and we're kind of getting a hint that Casca could die, that's kind of where I'm getting the idea that Griffith is going to attack Casca again, probably killing her this time, and then Guts is going to be forced to watch as he did before. Now, here's where I think the difference comes in. I think this time, Guts is obviously going to go into his rage, right? Like, we all know what Guts is going to do. He's going to while out, right? Like, he's not going to take that shit lying down unless he's held down by, demons like he was last time. However, this time he actually has the Berserk armor. So what's likely going to happen is he's going to attack Griffith like he does when he really doesn't even, get provoked. We saw that when he went after Griffith when the God Hand showed up, and, this man had literally a broken knife, and that was it. And he was like, I'm gonna stab this bitch in the face. Like, he went at Griffith. It was so hard. But anyway, he's going to go berserk and attack Griffith. If you want my honest opinion, he's gonna lose. He's gonna get his ass beat like he did every other time he's tried to fight Griffith, except for once. Essentially, what's gonna happen here was foreshadowed even right before the eclipse. The instance I'm referring to is that when Guts actually saves Griffith from the torture chamber that he's in, the first thing Griffith does is he tries to choke Guts. And we later find out that Griffith blames Guts for him being imprisoned and tortured for that year. And obviously that torture led to him losing all ability to chase his ambition, which is all Griffith knows. This actually led Griffith to almost commit suicide right before the eclipse. So he was pretty shook up about it. He blamed Guts for almost all of it. So that being said, when Guts attacks Griffith, not only is Guts going to lose, like he did at the eclipse, Griffith's going to cripple him, either instantly on the spot with some terrible God Hand magic and start stripping skin on panel, or he's going to have Guts locked away and tortured for a year like he was. Now, here's the terrible part. Whether Guts survives this or not, it's a really shitty ending for Guts. So he can either survive it, or more likely, in my opinion, he's going to be killed by something insignificant. I think what's going to happen is while he's in the torture chamber, at some point he's going to be killed and eaten by rats. The smell of his flesh or whatever is basically going to attract these rats. They're going to bite him, eat him, kill him, and that's going to be the end of Guts. Now, that being said, Griffith, and here's how Griffith dies, Griffith is going to find out about this and basically have nothing left. He'll have, no more ambition to chase. Like I said earlier, that's all he knows. When that's taken away from him, he's fucked. Like, mentally, he wants to kill himself. He's done. So what's going to happen now is it's sort of the other extreme. He has everything he wanted. He had Guts when he, says, I want Guts. I want you to be mine. Well, Guts was his. And, he was just torturing him, and he was going to keep him tortured and just keep him. He was also, wanting his kingdom. He already has that too. So here's the problem. Now that Guts is gone, now that he has his kingdom, what ambition is there to chase? He's a god. He has everything he's ever wanted. He just killed the only person that would even try to step to him. What now? Well, he'll probably fall into that same despair we saw right before the eclipse, when he was sitting in the pool or the lake and he basically tried to kill himself and failed. It's pretty much going to be the exact same thing. Now, the only difference I see here, and this is kind of one of those split-offs, the less likely version is that he can't kill himself because he's a god hand, and he, for all eternity, just has to live in that same despair that broke his mind right before the eclipse, which, equates to basically hell for him, which, it's a great ending for Griffith. Fuck Griffith. But what I think's more likely is that Griffith will, in fact, just kill himself. He will, write himself out of existence. I don't know how a god hand kills itself, but I'm sure it's grandiose. So that's kind of what I think's going to happen. Just to recap for you guys, Casca's murdered by Griffith. Guts attacks Griffith for this. Griffith cripples Guts. Guts is killed by rats. And then Griffith is basically too OP for his own good. He's too successful, and that depresses him, and he kills himself. So that's how I think Berserk's going to end. I think the three main characters all end up dead, terrible ways. I think that's a reasonable expectation, because like I said in the beginning, Berserk really likes to have the worst case scenario. It likes to screw over the main characters, especially Guts. So I wouldn't be surprised if Guts was tortured for 9 months, a year by Griffith, and then killed by rats. And that's the end of Guts. So with that being said, I appreciate you guys listening to this. If you like it, leave me a like. If you don't like it, send me that hate mail. It's amazing. But yeah, take it easy, guys.